details, please, with your hosts, Emmanuel and Angela Williams, where we dive deeper into conversations with visionary entrepreneurs to discover what it takes to turn passion into purpose. Listen to real-world stories from self-starters and trailblazers, and discover strategies and innovations shaping a greener future. Whether you are a seasoned business person or just starting out, let this be your go-to resource for inspiration and actionable tips for success. Join us now as we create a brighter, greener future together.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of More Details, Please, where you can join the conversation about pursuing your passion. I'm Angela Williams.
And Emmanuel Williams.
And this is our space where you can turn your passion into a thriving, profitable business. Right, Emmanuel?
Absolutely. And I just want to thank the listening audience for being a part of our podcast. This is a podcast about entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship is a very important and interesting profession because we're constantly being challenged and we're constantly overcoming obstacles and hurdles and fears, and we're constantly evolving. And what we wanted to do here at Detail Expert is to share our 25 years of experience as entrepreneurs in a way where we can connect with other entrepreneurs. And the theme is turning your passion into purpose. And passion is something that you enjoy, something that you are enthusiastic about, something that you just kind of wake up in the morning excited about doing. And purpose is, as an entrepreneur, is twofold. Number one, creating financial stability for your family and making a difference in the people in the life that is around you that you are influencing. So we wanted to take this vehicle of entrepreneurship and put it into a podcast so that we can invite other entrepreneurs onto our podcast so that the world can see the interactions and the journey that each entrepreneur takes in making their passion into purpose to making the world a better place.
And today we're talking about learning to protect your energy in life and in business. This topic is exciting for me, of course, because it beautifully ties into the theme of learning. But it also reminds us that learning is not just about educational for our brains. Our energy is connected to our body, mind, and spirit, right, Emmanuel?
Yeah, the energy is connected to our body, mind, and spirit. But let's kind of take a step back a little bit because we got a guest on that is going to kind of break energy down and take it to a deeper level in terms of her journey. But energy is, I'm an engineer and I deal with generating energy from power plants and turbines and engines and things of that nature. So I look at energy from a different perspective as well, but all energy is pretty much the same. But energy is your ability to do work. But energy in terms of entrepreneurship is very important to be able to control and be able to direct your energy into areas in your life where you can get the maximum amount of productivity out of your energy. And one of the ways that you do that is really interesting is dealing with your ego. Your ego is a part of you that is the decision making process when you are not aware. So a lot of times in our journey as entrepreneurs, we make decisions out of ego, which means we make them out of fear, or we make decisions out of jealousy, or we make decisions out of anger. And when you talk about controlling your energy, you have to get in control of that part of who you are so that you can be more efficient and effective. Because I will say this, the most important thing when it comes to energy that we as individuals can take responsibility for is our state of consciousness. How am I feeling? What's going on with me? Am I sick? Am I not feeling good? Am I feeling kind of tired? Am I feeling stressed? Because all of these things is in direct proportion to the energy that we are exerting, which means that we're constantly making decisions as entrepreneurs. And how do you determine your state of consciousness? How am I feeling? You determine your state of consciousness by the degree of presence. How present am I to be aware enough, to be alert enough, to be able to make decisions in a way where they're going to be profitable and they're going to lead to the success that I'm trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so we're going to hear from our guest that Emmanuel alluded to earlier, Christine Van Dam. She's joining us from Zeal Aerial Fitness. So she's putting the flying into fitness. I'm intrigued to hear what she has to bring to the conversation. I personally want to get into the details. So let's talk a little bit more about our energy. You described our energy, Emmanuel, as both physical and mental, and it drives our ambition. But energy is also spiritual too.
Yes, absolutely. Because one of the things Angela and I we have this little toolbox, a nugget of wisdom toolbox. And we say, well, what is in this toolbox that we're going to pull out today to talk about to help our listening audience, entrepreneurs, go into that toolbox when they're dealing with issues and when they're dealing with things that they're trying to just resolve to help them to plug into whatever it is that they're trying to deal with so that this tool can help them as if I'm fixing a boiler, as I'm fixing a car. And so the tool that Angela and I talked about today is presence. Present. That is a tool that is in our toolbox. And presence is the mind of meditation and your ability to be aware of the intangibles in your subconscious mind. I'm going to say that again because I kind of say it a lot. It is the mind of meditation and your ability to be aware of the intangibles in your subconscious mind. Now, the subconscious mind, everybody has a subconscious mind, but nobody knows where it is. If it's yours, don't you want to know where it is? Just like in your house. If you have a room in your house and you don't know where it is, it's your house. You should be able to find that room and go in that room and be able to see what's going on in your room. Same thing with your subconscious mind. So in your subconscious mind, the intangibles in your subconscious mind is your thoughts, your emotions, your reactions, your ego. All of these different things is in your subconscious mind. So to be able to be present is to be able to bring that dimension to who you are into your subconscious mind through meditation and be able to watch and be aware of those emotions, those thoughts, those reactions, because you will be surprised as you start to become aware of those intangible in your subconscious mind, how that drains your body and create stress that you didn't even realize you was carrying.
So energy is that unseen force. Now, I know some people think of this concept as a bit woo woo, no scientific basis, but we shouldn't be too quick to dismiss this line of thinking in business.
Well, I would say this too. Let's talk a little bit about some of the energy drink because this is intangible. So we're gonna be talking about energy from within, and we're gonna talk about energy from without. Energy from within is the intangibles that you have to be present, which is part of our tool, to be aware enough. So for an example, anger. Anger drains you from your energy. It drains your energy. Judgment, control, envy, jealousy, fear, all of these things we carry with us unconsciously, and they are constantly pulling from us and pulling our energy to the point where, as an engineer, if you are um, generating so much stress on a pump, and that pump constantly is under pressure, and that pump starts to build up pressure. What eventually is going to do is not only is going to build up pressure, but it's going to build up heat. And as it build up heat, it's going to build up steam. And as it build up steam, it's going to build up temperature and pressure. And the next thing you know, what's going to happen, that pump is going to burn out. So what those intangibles that we carry around in our subconscious mind, whether we realize it or not, make our blood pressure go up, make our sugar go up. It starts to create an immune system, start to attack our immune system. So we start to get sick, our resistance get low, and we become susceptible to other viruses. And then the next thing you know, the organ, the intelligent organ that we have to take responsibility for, the most important intelligent organ, which is us, which is our body, that we have to take responsibility for, is no longer able to create enough energy to go take care of that interview or go deal with that client or go deal with all of the things that we have to deal with in addition to dealing with our kids and our family and dinner and all of those kind of things. Why? Because our body is so sick. It doesn't have enough energy. The only energy that it has is to try to heal itself.
Yes, I want everybody to keep an open mind because we're talking about physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual energy here. And it starts by setting boundaries. So, by this, I mean protecting your time so that you can give yourself moments of peace, giving yourself space to think and thrive. That is to protect your energy and setting boundaries.
Well, I tell you this, for me, when you wake up in the morning, that is a very critical time where you can kind of take control of the foundation of how your day is going to evolve. And I tell you, for me, it's really important because when I wake up in the morning, and I would assume this is a lot of people, the first thing that they have to deal with before they even pick up the phone or the TV or whatever, is the voices in your head. The voices in your head. And if you don't bring, this is in our toolbox, the presence. If you don't bring your aware and your presence into what those voices in your head is telling you, they're going to be following you all day long, constantly draining you and constantly pulling the stress from you. So those voices in your head is saying, oh, I got to pay these bills, or I got to do this. All of these things that has to be done. But guess what? This is the beautiful part about it, is that the voices in your head is just voices in your head. They're not reality. They're not real. It's an illusion. It's an illusion that takes you over. And what we're saying is once we bring that presence into our lives in a way where we can plug in, then we can listen to the voices in our head. We don't have to believe them, but we can start to change the conversation. As opposed to saying, I have to do this or this, that, and the other. It is, I'm going to make this a priority. I'm going to make this a priority. I'm going to do everything that I can. And guess what? What I don't do today, I'll get to tomorrow. And you'll be surprised how that relieves stress, relieve pressure, and preserve your energy.
We talked about you don't want to try to do too many things in a day. So, six most important things, just focus on that. So, not only are you setting boundaries for yourself, so that negative self talk that may start when you first wake up, you're also setting boundaries when it comes to people. This is not saying that you push people away. So, we're not talking about isolating yourself. What we're talking about is protecting your time to preserve your energy. So, here are a few tips of protecting your energy as an entrepreneur. Number one, don't get distracted by shiny new things. By this, we mean focus on your business goals and values. So don't keep jumping for one new idea, new technology, new everything. Yes, it's essential to innovate, but not at the expense of your energy. So
Well,
focus and commit.
I'm going to interject in that because one of the things that I really love about Angela and I relationship is she keep me balanced. I keep her balanced
Yes.
because I'm all over the place. I got so many ideas. I got so much creativity. She was like, no, we're going to focus. So when it comes to business, I would say this, whether your spouse is in business with you or they're not, whether you realize it or not, they're always in business with you. And for me is I am appreciative that Angela kind of keeps me in line, and where I am not so good in certain things, she's really strong. Where she is not so good in certain things, I'm really strong. So our differences is our blessing because a lot of people be trying to figure out, I need to be in business with somebody that's just like me. No, you don't. You need to be in with some business with somebody that's going to help you grow, that's going to challenge you, that's going to bring the best out of you. Because that's the thing when we talked about in the beginning, your ego. Your ego, which is your main decision making process when you're not there, when you're not present, is what can cause so much stress and confusion and disappointment in your relationship, especially when it comes to your partner.
So the second tip in protecting your energy as an entrepreneur is learning to say no without guilt. And for me, that is something that I'm constantly improving upon. So every yes can zap your energy if you're not careful. So make sure that your yes aligns with your passion and your purpose. Three, block out time for deep work, rest, family, and etc. So, what is this deep work? At Detail Experts, we've talked about it in previous podcasts where blocking out an hour of deep work can help accomplish goals that used to take us months to get done. And equally important is blocking out time for your family and your well being. Emmanuel alluded to that earlier. You want to take time for yourself. You want to take time just to focus on improving yourself, or you'll see the results later, and they're usually not positive. So think of these times as boundaries, which are non negotiable. Go ahead, Emmanuel.
Well, another example of Angela and I, when we're dealing with a crisis, when we're dealing with something that we are, um, there that can create stress in our situation in our business. What Angela does is she go to sleep. Now, for me, I could take that personal and be like, "Why are you going to sleep? You need to be up trying to help me figure this thing out." But that's not Angela. Angela go to sleep, but she'll wake up early and she'll have the answers to the questions. For me, I'm sort of a night person, and my creativity comes with listening to music and just kind of being up, wandering around. And so it's funny because the yin and the yang, because we understand and because we are constantly trying to stay in control of our ego, by bringing presence into our lives in a way where we can deal with making choices that is going to be beneficial to us and kind of getting our feelings out the way. We have been able to, at the end of the day, come up with some great ideas or great solutions to the problems. And we always end up overcoming and solving those problems. So that's another thing when it comes to energy and understanding your partner.
Yeah. So, number four, notice what and who drains your energy. So, take a minute. You're spending too much time scrolling through your phone. I would say, social media, be careful. You're focusing too much on bad news. You're multitasking, which I truly believe now. I used to think that was my superpower, but it's a non thing. Hanging out with people who steal your joy and identifying the problems that make you better. Make a change for the better. So, therefore, when you identify that problem, make a change that can make you better. But also, number five is protect your emotional energy. There's a difference between showing up for someone and making yourself available for everyone. People pleasing is one of the fastest ways to deplete your energy levels. So hold on, think about it first and decide, am I the priority or is this other person a priority? So learning to protect your energy doesn't always come naturally. And learning for me, being a lifelong learner, I realize this. So it's important for various reasons, right, Emmanuel?
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, what you can do, which is a curse and a blessing, you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself in certain roles. You can lose yourself in being a mother. You can lose yourself in being an entrepreneur. You can lose yourself in being a spouse. You can lose yourself in so many different ways. And when I say lose yourself, which means that you don't take the time and have enough presence and awareness to be able to do the things that you need to do for yourself to be whole. Because if you're not whole, then you're not going to be as effective in other areas in your life. So, and it can make you ill. So losing yourself is really about having balance.
Yeah. So your health takes a hit when you're not preserving your energy. Stress is bad for the body. Your creativity goes out of the window because you can't think clearly. Decision making suffers, and you lose your sense of joy and purpose. And as we've talked about in previous podcasts, joy is super important. So protecting your emotional energy because it's connected to your physical well being is essential. You can be emotionally drained and your body feels it. So, equally important, the body is not energized. Your spiritual energy feels it. So, when your body is not energized, your spiritual energy feels it. So, everything is connected: mind, body, and spirit.
And I always say this, and this is so important. You don't get out of life what you want. You get out of life what you are. And what you are is what you think, what you feel, what you believe, what you react to, and what your personality is. And we are all energy. We are all energy where we can emit energy and we can attract energy. And your state of consciousness is in direct proportion to what you attract. So when you're not feeling good and when you're not conscious and aware to be able to be in control of being able to align yourself with positivity, then you are going to attract negativity in some kind of way, shape, form, or fashion. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that's how the laws of the universe work. And what the universe is constantly telling us is when things happen that we don't like, it's not like it's bad, it's a lesson and it's a wake up call. And it's saying, hey, this direction that you're going in, I'm trying to keep making your corrections and I'm going to create this anxiety. I'm going to create this fear until you overcome it so that you can get back on track because our purpose here is to enjoy life. Is to be happy, enjoy our family, and just have a good time here. That's the whole purpose of this.
Well, talking of feeling energized, this feels like the perfect moment to introduce our special guest. Now, Christina Van Dam and Zeal Aerial Fitness. I mean, what's exciting is Christina's going to just fly through the air as she explains to us how energy comes into this physical aspect. Hello, Christina. We're so happy and welcome to More Details, Please.
Hi, good morning.
So, straight off, I love that your family used to joke with you that you were like Peter Pan and you would find a
Oh,
way to
yeah.
fly. And look at you now.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, it definitely was something all growing up. You guys talking so much about energy today. Like everyone used to call me a little energizer bunny when I was little, and they're always like, she's bopping from here to here to here to here. And like, my husband makes fun of me now because he's like, I just don't understand. How do you do it? You're just like all the time.
So we need all the details on how you went from being a public school teacher to flying through the air for a living. I'm
Yeah,
not
it
sure
was.
that we've ever had that spectacular of a transition on the show before.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
So it's so interesting you guys actually talking about like energy and protecting that. I really truly feel like that is kind of what led me to entrepreneurship. So I had been a public school teacher. I really loved my job, what I was doing. And I got so we lived in Utah and then we moved back to Grand Rapids from Grand Rapids originally. And I got pink slipped after my first year. So for those people that don't know what that means, it's basically they eliminate your position as a teacher. It's kind of like being laid off in another job. So very normal. It happens a lot to people when it's their first year teaching within a district. So I got pink slipped and I had my son. He was about 6 months old when I got pink slipped. And so it was an interesting time for our family. And I had always loved aerials. And my husband was like, what about starting a studio here in West Michigan? Because there wasn't a studio. I liked to do all the different apparatus and kind of jump from one to another. And there was no place in West Michigan at the time that had everything under one roof, but that also was separated from adults and kids. So there was an adult space that was pole only, and then there was a space that was in like little kids gymnastics, which did like the silks and the hoop and all of that. And as a teacher, like I wanted my adult space, so I didn't have to worry about potentially seeing a student or something like that. So I started taking some business classes. I met with a small business development center at Grand Valley and started to really learn because I was an English teacher. I had no idea. So I started to really learn about like customer base, the demographics of the city of Grand Rapids. Could this even be a viable option? Would people want to do this? So I took a year to do that. And then I ended up going back into teaching. And then that year, my son broke his femur. So he was almost 2 years old, and it was an accident. A dog hit him, and he kind of twisted and fell. And I was so grateful at the time for my husband's flexibility in his job because he couldn't go to daycare because the type of cast that he had, it was up around his waist and then down his leg. So we couldn't seal a diaper. So daycare was like, I'm sorry, that's not sanitary. Like, we can't have him here. So my husband had some flexibility with his job, and then my sister was also able to help out a lot. And I think that's when like my mind was just like, what am I doing? Why am I away from my kid every day? My kid is going through this really serious traumatic thing. Thankfully, he doesn't remember. But I felt so guilty because I couldn't be there from him. I hadn't accrued enough sick days that I could stay home with him. And I get it. A school is also a business. You need a teacher in a classroom. You can't just have a teacher be like, sorry, I'm going to stay home with my kid for a month. Um, and so that happened in November. He got his cast off in December. And then my husband came home one day in like February, and he had a list of papers. And he's like, you don't love teaching anymore. Here's a list of all the places you can go and take business classes. He's like, you've been thinking about this for many years. It's time. And it was just a big moment for me. I called up Spring GR, had an interview with them, started taking their entrepreneurship classes in March. And then by April, I told my principal, I'm not coming back. And then, yeah, Zeal opened our doors it would have been that summer of 2018. So, yeah, like it was just all about making the right choice for my family. And I never thought when Zeal opened its doors that I would do this full time. I thought it was going to be a like, fill in for now. It's a fun thing to do. It'll be, I can volunteer in my kids' classroom and also have this business on the side and do all these things. And now it is my full-time job.
Fantastic. What a story. So, how
Yeah.
do you protect your energy when you're running a fitness studio, supporting customers, maintaining your business mindset and your family?
Yeah. You know what? I think it's an ever-changing process, in all honesty. I think every day there's new challenges and different things, especially so I have 2 kids now, and Um, family is always going to be the most important thing to me. Like my son has the flu. So yesterday I canceled all of my meetings and I said it's important for me to stay home and be here with him today. I'm also very lucky. My husband also works for himself and has his own company. And so we are able to balance that. But then that's also hard too, because when we go out on date night, we're talking business all the time. And so we have started to make some serious boundaries of like, okay, we'll set a timer. We talk about business for 20 minutes and then we're not talking about business anymore. Um, but yeah, it's definitely, again, it's kind of an everyday thing. I think, like you said, balancing with customers and my family and all of that. I think I don't know, it's ever changing and it's a constant. We have to just always keep working on it and be open to and aware that the changes are always going to be happening and that whatever you value most in your life, that needs to stay your priority because you have your business values, you have your family values, but you need to know what you value as a person.
Well,
That's
I'm gonna have to give kudos to your husband.
Me too.
I really am because and this is the thing. Apparently, he had been watching you. He had been
Mhm.
listening to you. He had been being present to your desires. But what was it that made him make that ultimate decision? And what was it about you that it that what was there any fears of taking that next step or making that decision, or did he have to kind of push you to do that? What was it about you that kind of stagnated you from taking that next step?
Yeah, I definitely think I needed the push. I mean, I had gone to college to be an English teacher, and I think it was so ingrained in me, like, when you're a teacher, like, you just do that for life. Like, when you go to college, you get your degree, that is what you do. And I had no clue about business, profit and loss report. I had, like, all of those, like, buzzwords, like customer conversations, all of that stuff, because as a teacher, you're never selling anything per se. Your job is to really take care of people. And I think that um my husband kind of giving me that push, and again he saw how, I think again the catalyst was my son breaking his leg, and my husband saw, like, I felt so broken that I couldn't be there for my son, and I had to go to work every day. And again, my son wasn't complaining. He was actually very happy for being in a cast. Um, and I would come home every day and be like, "Okay, how was he? What did he do? What?" And I was so worried that there was going to be something else wrong with him. And I think, a lot of it was financial, to be honest, because it was my health benefits that we were going off of as a teacher, retirement, all of those things that you maybe don't necessarily think about when you're in your young 20s. And, he just kept saying, like, we'll make it work. We'll make it work. And so we actually sat down one day and kind of looked at our budget, and he said, this is how much money you need to make a month, and that would be it. I think knowing what that, like, target number was for me was like, "Oh, that seems really attainable. I think I could do that." Um, and, like, to maintain the lifestyle that we had. And yes, there's been, like, ebbs and flows, and um, I've done other side hustles, so I also teach color guard, like the flags for marching band, and I judge that as well too during the winter time. And that's something that I think for me is a passion that I love. And we've talked about energy, and for me as a mom, I get to go away for a weekend. So I leave on a Friday, I fly to Texas, I judge 70 color guards on Saturday, which is very mind numbing, but it's also wonderful because I sit there, I watch the beautiful art that's happening in front of me, and then I'm done. And I get to then take a flight home, and it's beautiful. And it seems ridiculous because people are like, wow, 70 color guards. Yeah, it's a lot. But for me, it builds me back up because I get to see all of these beautiful, amazing things, and you get to talk to the coaches. And sometimes I do clinics where I get to talk to the students, and that fulfills me so much. So finding those other kind of things to help fill in, to really build that energy back up is super helpful. And my husband's really supportive of that too, of me. Like, he's like, yeah, go on your weekend, go away.
So it's good. It serves two purposes. I mean,
Yeah.
personally, it kind of gives you some space, but then also you continue to do things that are in your passion. So aerial
Yes.
fitness captures
Yeah.
physical energy, but it also
Yep.
celebrates emotional excitement of literally soaring through the air.
For
Now,
sure.
that's a
Yeah.
powerful force. So tell us about the connection between physical energy and emotional balance.
Ooh, interesting. So I think the one thing that we always talk about with at Zeal is that never underestimate the power of laughing. So when people come into this studio, a lot of the times they're really uncomfortable because as an adult, we don't really taking that step outside of your comfort zone is even bigger than what it might be when you were a kid. And also realizing, like, we get a lot of people that were like, oh, I was a gymnast when I was younger, or I was a ballet dancer, but I haven't done that in many, many years. And it's allowing those people to connect back in with their bodies and also your younger self. And like, we always say, choose your own adventure. We like to say we're a little bit weird, because you do, like, you go upside down in your first silks class. And a lot of times people are like, oh my gosh, I did it. And like, it's a release. It's this beautiful moment. And uh, again, we have a lot of strangers that will come into our intro class. They don't know each other. And it's that connection and that laughter. And the minute the first person laughs, you can just feel everyone be like, Yep.
Yeah.
It's
So
beautiful.
I
But
know that. Oh, that just made me excited already.
well,
Okay.
well,
Okay.
I think that's really powerful because I think that's what the world needs more of.
Oh, yeah,
You
for
know,
sure.
it's really the healing properties of what of making the world a better place and the world healing is not complicated.
Yep.
It's real simple. It's people like you and I that have a passion and care about people and giving them the opportunity and the space to step outside their problems.
Mm,
And when you
Mhm.
laugh, and what could be a better place to be in?
yeah.
Yep.
You're laughing. You don't
Yeah.
have a problem when you're laughing. That's
Yep.
why it feels so good.
Yeah.
And so
Yep.
what I'm saying is that that is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, it might
Yeah.
sound like, oh, I'm just laughing, but that is a very intricate part of making the world that we're living in is literally is bringing your light into the dark.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Christina, what do you say to somebody who has a fear of failure? Because this could apply to advice for business too.
Yeah. So I love to read, again, English teacher. And I feel like I was always that person scared to fail per se. And I read a book called Lessons in Chemistry that really changed my perspective. And the woman in the main character is a scientist. And she talks about how s- a scientist never is successful unless they fail. And it got me thinking about like experiments. Like, if you don't know if something doesn't work, how do you ever know something will work? And it has really resonated with me that I don't view anything as a failure anymore because it's a learning opportunity.
Okay.
If you always had things be successful, you would never learn. You would never try something new. You would never try something again or try something differently. And that I think the concept of failure is we're way too hard on ourselves because it's not failure. It just didn't work this time. And so you have to find a different way to make it work.
And that's what I love about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
Because success cannot exist without failure.
Mhm. 1,000%.
It cannot exist. You got to be able to have a medium to be able to figure out how to become quote unquote successful.
Mhm. Well,
So
and I
for
think
it,
success
go
yeah.
ahead, go
I
ahead.
I I think success also you have to define it for yourself as an entrepreneur. Because some people will say success is money, but like for me right now, success is time with my family. Like again, if I was still a public school teacher, I wouldn't be able to go and have donuts with my daughter when it's donut day at her school, you know? And so for me right now, success is time.
Yeah.
And I would say this, I'm glad you said that success is just a matter of value, what you value,
Mhm.
because just say you spend 15 years of hard work and just kind of being miserable and achieve all kinds of money.
Yeah.
And then at the end, when you get to where you so called success, you have ostracized your family, you have
Mhm.
missed all your kids' activities. Nobody really like you, only the people that you can get something out of you. And here you are sitting here in this room with all of this money. Would you call that success? It all depends upon your priorities.
Probably not.
Yeah.
So we
Yeah.
talked about energy being spiritual. There's a spiritual element. Do you see a spiritual element in aerial fitness? That sense of weightlessness. If so, can you help our listeners tap into that?
Yeah. That's an interesting question because I've never really thought about it that way. But I think anytime that you take a moment to connect with yourself can be considered spiritual. Um, and I know that looks really different for a lot of different people, but y- I love our aerial yoga class because you actually are laying in a hammock by yourself. You're enclosed in this it's fabric, and I think in those quieter moments, I at least feel more connected to myself and to a higher purpose and higher being. But I think other people feel it when they're doing what's called like a flow or even performing and just expressing themselves in a way that they maybe didn't even know was possible. And sometimes it's even just someone taking a video and then sharing it on social media and saying like, this is the flow that I did today. I've seen a lot of our students really connect with music and then connect with that music flowing through themselves, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. It's so funny that you said that. When I was younger, I actually was in modern dance for
Mm,
years. I mean, I want to say like 8 years, but I kind of forgot about it. And then it's
yeah.
like later on, and people would say, well, do you dance? I'm like, yeah, I dance, but I did not remember modern dancing up until a month ago.
Yeah.
Emmanuel is a fabulous ballroom dancer. He's been doing it his whole life.
Ooh.
And it wasn't until I could tap into my modern dance that all of a sudden it's like, just stop thinking about it. Just
Yeah.
do it.
But I think that's so true even if you think about, like, a baby. When a baby hears music, they wanna move their body.
Yes.
It's just, like, something that naturally happens, but as adults, we kind of confine ourselves and
Yeah.
like, "Oh, I can't
Gotta
do
be
this."
perfect and I gotta move
Uh-huh.
this way.
Yep.
And you look just like a robot. Okay. So how does building spiritual physical strength and confidence, how does that translate to being stronger emotionally and mentally? I'm just trying to figure out because what I think as a pole dancer, you got to figure out how to lift yourself up. So you have to build some physical stamina to be able to do
Yeah.
that. So help me understand. People have seen how do they become more confident after the class?
Yeah, I think that's huge. A lot of times people see social media and they'll see the person who's been doing aerials or pole for many, many years and be like, "Wow, I wanna do that." And you come to your first class
And you
and
fall.
you
No.
leave, yeah, or you get bruises, which are
Yes.
very common, and I always tell people, like, think of a runner. If someone's running a marathon, they didn't start yesterday. Like, they have been training for this and doing this, and I think that that takes a lot of mental toughness for people to realize, "Okay, like, this is not just something that's, boom, gonna happen overnight for me." Um, and so, one, being willing to, like, have the ability to say, like, this might physically hurt sometimes. I might end up with bruises on my legs, on my arms. Um, I might have some of this physical uncomfortableness. And I always think that whenever a person has that physical uncomfortableness, you're growing, your
Yes.
body is changing. Um, and that is going to help with your mental toughness as well too, to be like, all right, I got to do it again. I got to do it again. Again, it's like that marathon runner. They're going to run a mile, then they're going to run 2 miles, then they're going to run three. And it's just slowly building up over time. And I think that's the same thing for aerials too. And when someone comes in and they take a class, sometimes their bruises are like that badge of honor. Like, oh yeah, I did it. Look at this bruise. That's when I feel like the shift happens for people, is when it becomes like, yes, look at my bruise. I'm so strong. Like, the other thing is we really encourage people at Zeal to take pictures or videos of themselves so they can see their progress. A lot of times we're so hard on ourselves because you can't do XYZ skill. But if you start to take some videos or pictures of yourself during class, you can be like, oh my gosh, look at 3 months ago, I was there and now I'm here. I still might not be doing this skill totally, but I can visually see my progress. Um, because sometimes it does take people out. It took me almost a year to figure out how to climb the silks because it's not just about strength, it's about how do all the pieces of your body work together? And it was really hard for me to wrap my brain around, okay, I have to wrap the silk around my foot, hold the silk, do the crunch, move my hands, do the thing. And so, yeah, it took me about a year before I could figure it out. And then once I figured out how to work all the mechanics together, I was up.
Well, it sounds like this could be a remedy for mental health.
Oh, yeah. And, it just like any sort of exercise, I think that it just helps to release those endorphins in your brain. And
Mhm.
a lot of times people, and even I will say, like, oh, I don't want to go to the studio, especially as it's getting dark out at, 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock,
Yes.
whatever. I don't want to go out. I just got home. I'm in my pajamas. I don't want to go to the studio. But every time I go, when I leave, I'm always like, oh, I'm so glad I did that. It's so healthy for your body, but also your mind. And it takes you out of your everyday setting. You're into a class where most of these people you probably don't work with. Most of these people are probably not your family. It's a group of people that are solely there to learn the thing that you're also learning and to uplift you while you're there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So earlier we talked about energy drains. What signs do you notice when someone is carrying too much stress? How does movement help release that tension?
Yeah, I think so signs from someone is definitely if they're more inward. So shoulders hunched, maybe chin down more, even like their chest being pulled in more to their body. I think all of those things, it's almost like that person is physically carrying a weight on themselves. Um, I think movement can help because it allows them to release it from their body, maybe not their mind in that moment, but if you're somewhere else and you're being told what to do, your brain is not thinking about that thing that was weighing you down. Your brain is not thinking, "Oh, I didn't finish this project at work," or, "Oh, I have this coming up that I have to get ready for." We really try to make people be in the moment at Zeal, and I think that so many times in our life, we are not truly you were talking about presence. We are not present, and you have to be present when you're doing aerials. It's for your own safety, it's for the safety of the others around you, and I think we do a good job of making people be like, "You know what? You're here. This is what we're doing right now, and this is how we're gonna do it," and sometimes people do talk about their struggles at work or different stuff, but it's a snippet. We're not
Mhm.
gonna take a whole hour to talk about the the heaviness of the world.
Yeah. So we talked about setting boundaries with others, but boundaries with yourself matters too. So how does aerial fitness encourage self-discipline, self-awareness, and even saying no to overworking your body?
Yeah, I think that's huge. And honestly, I feel like it comes from the staff down. I tell my staff, if you're injured, stay home. Nobody wants someone who is sick or injured. And a lot of us are getting to be in our 40s and 50s almost, and we're still doing this. And it's different on your body. Your body changes. You go through natural changes as you
Yeah.
age.
Whew.
And it's oh right. Yep. And it's okay. And I always tell people, like, you're way more important to me as a person than you are as either a staff member or a client.
Mm.
If you fell walking down the stairs and you twisted your ankle, I don't want you coming to Zeal to try to go upside down or walk on the silks. Um, and I think that that boundary setting and letting people know, like, it's okay to take time for yourself. Um, and there's not going to be any sort of negative repercussion from that. I'm not going to be upset if someone decides that they can't come and teach for a class for a night because they had a bad day at work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good. And that's important. But I think you said it earlier, you care more about the individual. And
Yeah.
it's about the community and what we share. I was reading one of your previous interviews, and that just stood out to me. And it's like in business, that's so important because
hmm
people care. They
Yep.
they want to know that you care
Yeah.
about them, and it's not
Yep.
just another number or, just another class. And I saw that your classes are unlimited when they get into a package, so it's like, "Okay,
hmm
I couldn't make it today, so I'll come tomorrow,"
Yep.
which is
Yeah,
great.
for sure. And we want people to be able to if you're like, man, I'm not feeling like jumping on that hoop today. It's hard. I just want to lay in the hammock and do
Mhm.
aerial yoga. That's why we wanted to make it unlimited for people so that they could have those moments of grace for themselves of like, oh, I don't have to, if I don't show up to this class at this time, I'm going to be losing out. No,
Exactly.
like,
Yeah, I appreciate that, and I saw that motto,
yeah,
I was like, "Yay, great job." All right,
thanks.
so Christina, so you have a 70-year-old flying through the air, which
Yep.
I love. So it really taps into the positive mindset that we love to talk about on this podcast. So tell us about how your class fits embracing challenges. Again, I love how we can apply this to business, both startup and scaling.
Yeah. So I think the most interesting thing about Zeal is that we meet people where they're at. And I know that not all businesses are able to do that. But in a service based business, being able to, again, we have such small class sizes that our instructors really get to know the individuals on a one on one basis. And so taking those moments to just be really in tune with the clients, I think helps to build that. Um, you said something else about business. Can you repeat the rest of your question?
Yeah, so when you actually apply that
Yep.
to business and embracing challenges, I mean, because this is
Oh,
something new. I mean,
yeah. Yeah. So as a business owner, I think going back to that like failure, looking at y- you have to continue to challenge yourself as a business owner because if you don't, you're just going to stay here the entire time, which it might be okay. And sometimes, again, that's what's your version of success. If your success is here, that's great. If you want to get to the next level, though, you have to take time away from your business, away from your family, away from all of the noise, and whatever that looks like. Sometimes I know businesses take like a yearly retreat. For me, it's like about an hour a day that I'll be like, okay, I'm going to take a step back and I'm going to vision what do I want things to look like in the future. I love the book Traction,
mhm,
that entrepreneur operating system, EOS, you'll hear people call it. Because what you do is you dream. You dream in 10 years. This is what you want things to look like. But then you start to walk it backwards and be like, okay, how do I get there in 90 days? So, my 90-day, how is that feeding into my 1 year plan? How is that feeding into 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road? And I think having that time to step back and plan is so important as an entrepreneur because we get stuck in working in the business and we forget about working on the business because you don't feel like it's necessarily productive all the time to dream because you have a business already that's running, but you need to take that time so that you can grow your business, but also grow yourself.
yeah.
But that's what I love about your relationship with your husband, because being that he's an entrepreneur, he
Yep.
has worked those muscles to say,
Yeah.
I got to hunt to eat.
Yep.
I got to step outside my comfort zone. And when you become comfortable with being uncomfortable, then you
Yes.
start to say, hey, babe, go ahead on, make that leap. We're gonna make it together. We everything's gonna work itself out. And that's the
Mhm.
part that I love about entrepreneurship. It is a relationship with yourself, is a relationship with your family, is a relationship with your employees, where it's a constant evolution growth process. And I think that's
Mhm.
why we're here on this planet. We're here to serve, we're here to expand, we're here to grow, we're here to be a light. And when you're in alignment with all of that and you find something that you have a joy of doing and you're affecting other people, that's what I really enjoy about what you're doing in your business and you being an example in your community.
Thank you.
You know what, Christina, you mentioned traction in the EOS system. It's so funny because anybody in our company, they'll tell you we're talking about the rocks and we're looking at our
Yes.
VTO. So we
Yep.
absolutely love that. We have used that in our franchise system because we believe that that philosophy in itself of understanding what your 10-year goal is and then breaking it down into
Mhm.
bite-sized pieces, that allows you to stay accountable along the way to be able to accomplish that. So it's nice to
Yeah.
know that you are doing that as well. So this is
Yeah.
this has been a great conversation, but it's not done because you got something to say. Go ahead, Christina.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, yeah, I love Traction too.
Well, you know what? I when you said that, I know Angela got really excited.
I did. I did. I almost could control myself.
So she's that side of the business. I'm the other side of the business.
Innovation.
Nice.
All right, so this has been a great conversation. So you protect your time like it's money, you preserve your peace, prioritizing your physical and spiritual energy is like your superpower, but finding alternatives. Fitness like Christina's Zeal Aerial Fitness is a
Mhm.
perfect example to find balance between mind, body, and spirit. So like Emmanuel said, boundaries aren't about pushing people away, it's about creating space to thrive.
Hmm.
And when you anchor those boundaries in your purpose and your vision, you're able to build a business that can run for a really, really long time. So, Christina, if there was anything that you would want to share before we ask you, how can people get in touch with you? What would you want to share with our listening audience?
I think I would tell anybody who's listening is define your success. What does success look like for you in your life? And define what you think failure is. Because I think when you define those two things for yourself, your life becomes a million times easier because you get to judge yourself. Nobody else does.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So you've taught us how to soar, literally, without leaving our seats, which is absolutely exciting. This has been so inspirational, and I know Emmanuel is ready to fly as I am, right?
We're
Yeah,
gonna get you
I
guys
mean,
into the studio
I
sometime.
know. Immediately, I was thinking the next time we're in Grand Rapids, we need to go to that
Yes,
studio.
come, please.
And I'm not afraid to fall, and I'm not afraid to get a bruise.
Nice. There we go.
All right. So, Christina, how can our listeners get in touch with you?
Yes. So our website, Zeal Aerial Fitness, you can look that up. We have website, social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all of those things.
Awesome. Thank you for that plug. You did very good.
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
so could you one more time give us your website, the information to get in
Yep.
contact with you?
Yeah, it's just Zeal, Zeal Aerial Fitness. And if people look that up, yeah, there's our website, our Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Awesome. So, thank you to our listeners for tuning in. To more details, please. We'll be back soon with more inspirational guests on how to continue to learning your journey to entrepreneurship. So, following your passion. So, don't forget to follow us and don't forget that you don't want to miss the next episode. So, until next time, take care.
Thank you for listening to More Details, Please, presented by Emmanuel and Angela Williams from Detail Experts, the mobile steam cleaning company dedicated to protecting the planet. Be sure to subscribe to More Details, Please on your favorite podcast platform. You can also follow us on Facebook at Detail Experts and visit detailexperts.net. That's DETAILXPERTS.net. We hope you've gained some valuable insights from our conversations today. Stay driven by curiosity, and we'll bring you more details next time.